Alrighty. So, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. This topic was Gwen's idea, so I'm going to throw her under the bus if anybody gets mad at us. My guest today is Julianne Thorne from Declawed Cats on the other side of the pond. How are things over on the other side of the pond? Is it crazy at all with the fact that there's a war like not too far away?
Yeah, the energy is very high, very, very high.
Yeah, I would imagine. So, all right. So we want to talk today about whether or not cats could go outside, and the chat box is open. So anyone who is watching, participating, you're welcome to put your thoughts in the chat box or your questions. We were chatting about it a little bit before we went live, and it is a controversial topic. People can have very strong thoughts about it one way or the other. So I'll give the background of our kitty cats, and then I'll have Julianne give the background of her kitty cats and what we do with ours. So anybody who follows me should know that I live on a farm now. And so we have a barn with a lot of animals, which means we have a lot of open bags of feed and grain. And that attracts a lot of mice. I actually posted a video of, a couple of hundred baby mice in a bowl that we had found under our chicken coop floor when we pulled up the mats because we wanted to pour concrete in there. And people went a little crazy about that. And actually, the video has been viewed like 20 million times, which is crazy. It was a bowl full of baby mice. People saying that they were so horrible. I should have just fed them to the chickens. I didn't even know chickens would eat them. What do I know? But clearly, when you live in the country and you have a barn, you are going to have mice, so you need cats. And it's sort of the circle of life, and I'm fine. I actually relocated and rehomed those mice, which people got mad about. They're like, why would you do that? They're rodents, they're horrible. I'm like, well, they have a right to life too, and, so I rehomed them, and some may have lived, some may have not, I don't know. But we do have 4 barn cats. One we actually adopted through a local spay neuter release trap neuter release program. And then the other 3 is a mom who brought 2 kittens who are now about 6 months old. So we were actually very happy that they came. We want them to stay because that's our rodent population control in the barn. Those cats are pretty feral. There's no way they would ever want to be a house cat. So they're very happy being outdoor cats, and they have a job to do, and we're very happy with the job that they do for us. Our house cats, we have 3, and they have always pretty much been allowed to go in and out because we've always lived in safe environments. However, while we were building the farmhouse, the 3 cats were locked inside. I did not want to let them out in that neighborhood where we were only living temporarily. Just on the off chance that somebody decided not to come back home, and then we moved. So I made them stay inside for about 9 months, and it was the worst 9 months. They were fighting. They're related, but they were fighting all the time. They were having pee wars, poop wars, not in the litter box. And it was ugly, ugly, ugly. We'd wake up in the middle of the night to cats just screaming at each other. We don't have that now. First of all, we have Julianne's herb mat that we're using, which is very helpful for Eggplant, who is a little bit of a Cracosaurus Rex. She has mental issues. But the 2 boys, particularly Mittens, her big brother, they go outside and they really don't go far. They literally go out on the back patio and sun themselves on the patio furniture. They're very happy. They're not hunting. If they did, that'd be fine too, but they're not hunting. They're hanging out. They're bathing in the sun and really enjoying it. And we don't have that angry cat interaction that we were having. So I think for mental health status for our cats, being able to go outside, and we don't live near the road. We have 23 acres. They have lots of area to roam. But they actually stay in the fenced backyard, which is wire, so they would have to actually jump up and out. They actually just stay in the yard. They're pretty happy out there. So how about you, Julia? Do you let your kid? How many kitties do you have?
We have two now. So we've got Leo, who is 4, and Max, who is 5 months. So Max, not yet. He is in the summer room. He's still adjusting. We've only had him for 3-4 weeks. So, he is staying there. He goes in his carrier and then, to and fro the house. But eventually he will. So with Leo, we let him out. And when we got him from the rescue center, they said, keep him in for 6 months so that he gets settled and then let him out. And actually, we kept him in for about 12 months because he wasn't fully established. So he was previously feral. They caught him trap, neuter, and return. They caught him at 18 months old, managed to neuter him. And actually, he adjusted. He was curious about humans. So they decided to do some behavior work with him and rehome him. Now, him and his colony were all going to go to a farm, very much like your situation. They were going to go be farm cats and, help with the rodents. But because he showed a bit of curiosity, they decided to work with him. And, long story short, we brought him home. But it took him a while to settle, to trust us, to, establish his territory in the home. So we waited before we let him out. And actually, we had to be really cautious about that because, as you said, with yours, keeping them in, their mental health is something that we really, it's one of the primary considerations. So, we started out with a harness on him, and again, we did behavior work in the home, putting that on, every, couple of days to get him used to it. We'd walk him in the garden. And again, it was very cautious. He was very sort of nervous. And eventually we let him out. Now, you face challenges if you let your cat outside. There are things that we need to think about in terms of like us humans, but also the cat. So you said about the road, not living near a road. When we rescued him, the rescue centre said, can we have your address? We want to look at Google Maps and see where you live. Now, the back of our house, as you can see from my window, we back onto local woods, like miles of it, right? And the other side of the house is a road because, you drive to your house. At the top of our road, there is another road because you drive to your house. And they said, you can't have him. You can't have an outdoor cat. And I said, well, why not? You said, because you live near a road. And I said, but every house is on a road, whether it's a main road, a busy road, or rural, there's always a road.
There's a road.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, we talked about it and we said, we don't actually let him out the front of the house. Now he can go and walk there, right? He can jump on the garage roof and go to the front of the house, but we don't let him out the front of the house. But I think, when we're talking about should we let our cats outside? I think we need to think about what physical dangers are there outside. So I've got a client of mine who's in Costa Rica. Now she has scorpions and other nasty things that she's told me about. And so she doesn't let her cats out of the house. She keeps them in because of their safety. And, right. We face challenges here. We back onto it. So there's foxes, there's loads of deer, badgers, I did say bears to my dad once and he just laughed. We don't have bears in the woods here. But, we have dangers that could affect Leo. We've got other cats, for goodness sake, dogs.
Right.
We have to take a leap of faith, and when we look at the physical dangers here that may affect him versus his mental health, we made a choice that for him, it was the right decision to give him access to outdoors. So we do control that. So we shut the cat flap at nighttime. So he doesn't go out when, like now it's dusky, he's in, because right. I am concerned about, nighttime dangers. So, and again, he's adapted really well to that because he has some playtime with us in the evening and then he sleeps, he's got into our routine. So he's quite settled.
Right.
But before we let him out, we were teetering on over grooming. We had to really watch him because his tummy and the way, self-soothing, licking his tummy, we were almost, in that pattern of him having to do that to cope with what was going on.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you definitely have to look at the mental health of the cat, and then you do have to consider the safety. So two of our Mittens is about 15 pounds. He's a big boy. Oh. Buddha is about 12. And then there's little Eggplant, who is Mitten's sister. And it's kind of funny because he's 15 and she's 5 pounds. She refuses to go outside and at this house, which is quite interesting because I think mentally she's probably the one who needs it the most. However, we know we have a couple of big owls that have about a 6-foot wingspan. So my cats are not allowed to be outside overnight. Right. But the barn cats, I mean, they do fine. I think they just hang out inside the barn all night. They can come and go as they please. But we also have hawks that are very active hunting. And so Eggplant is small enough that the hawks could potentially be a problem for her. And I don't know if she has that much awareness that that's why she's not going out. When we got the new puppy, he's about 10 or 11 pounds now, but when he was a 5-pounder, he was not allowed out by himself without one of us out there with him. And interestingly, his breeder, she lives in Chicago, and she was outside with a mama dog and a few puppies, and I think it was a hawk actually came down and attacked the puppies.
No.
And yeah. So it's definitely something to be concerned about. She managed to scoop up, I think there were 3 maybe, and she scooped up 2 out of 3 and then managed to get the 3rd one back, but it was injured. And it survived it. But so, I mean, definitely a concern. And I haven't looked at the statistics recently, but I know as recent as a couple of years ago, statistically, the lifespan of an outdoor unneutered male cat is 2 to 4 years. So part of the problem so if you have an unneutered cat, well, first of all, unneutered cat urine smells really bad. So that might be the cat that you want to say, I want this cat to go outside so that I don't have that smell in my house. However, because of fighting, territorialism with those unneutered males, they're much more likely to come down with things like feline infectious peritonitis, FIV, feline leukemia, and they're much more likely to be injured in battles. We have a male kitty cat who shows up. He was showing up every night on our back patio, and I was putting food out for him. I would love to trap this guy. Then he didn't show up for a couple of months. Last time he showed up, he was looking really rough, and then I haven't seen him again since then. So, but it is, you definitely have to consider your environment, what else is out there. Mittens, our big guy, he did come back with a bite wound. He probably met up with the orange cat who shows up. And since then, he got through it just fine, but since then he has literally stayed in the backyard. He doesn't even go over the fence. He's like, my yard, I'm just going to hang out and sit in the sun. So I think the cats are pretty good at fending for themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what we also need to think about. What is their personality like? So you mentioned their size, and that obviously makes a difference to them and how confident they're going to be, like you said, like in battle, but also like their temperament. So Leo is very timid, and we have another black cat. It's like the fight of to be the best black cat on the street. There's a black cat about 4 houses up, and it chases Leo back to the house. Now Leo will swear and he'll puff up, like he's like massively puffed up, but he doesn't attack or he doesn't chase. He is the chase, he's chased by the other one. So I'm conscious that when he comes home from an incident like that, I check, like you said, for bite wounds and things, because other cats may cause a wound, let alone wild animals. But right. Like you said, cats they know what they can deal with, right? So cats will do anything to avoid conflict, whether that's being, that's why they get puffy and they yowl a lot, because they're trying to say, don't come near me, and, don't even think about it, buddy. And, unless they are, like you said, the unneutered male, the aggression and the fight in those type of cats, it is phenomenal. It really, really is. Their drive to mate will trump everything, and the aggression that comes from them, they can be worse than a wild animal, because the hormones and everything raging around them is profound. So I do check over Leo when he comes in, and every day it is almost a leap of faith and a deep breath, and I say to him, be a good boy, come home to mummy. I mean, like he's my sort of 4-year-old going to school. But I know that essentially, yes, he may have interactions with another cat, but when he's gone for an hour and I see him come home, he's a different cat, and when we have people at the door, ring the doorbell, Leo, if it's daytime, will go straight out the flat. So his safe space is outside, even regardless of how big the world is, his safe space is to be outside, because that's what he knows. Whereas Pickle, my first cat, she would very rarely go outside. I mean, I had to, you know, sort of like drag her. I didn't, but you know, she'd only go outside in the garden if I was there. She wasn't really bothered. So she had access to outdoors, but she wasn't really fussed. You know, I'm interested to see what Max is going to be like, because he's a very confident cat. You know, he's very fluffy, very confident. And you know, it'd be fascinating to see what his drive is like. You know, so as much as, like you said, we have concerns, we need to think about them. And going back to your rodent thing, right? So Leo is a hunter. He was previously feral for 18 months. So he wasn't fed 3 times a day. You know, he didn't have access to food that was down there, you know, put in front of him at certain times of the day. He had to fend for himself.
Right.
So we've had slow worms, we've had beetles, you know, most of it's alive. We've had mice and voles. Sadly, not all of those have been, but you know, that's, like you said, Judy, that's the circle of life, and nature can be cruel. You know, nature is cruel. And I agree that we as humans find it sad if we see, you know, a cat bringing in a dead bird or, you know, affecting those kind of populations. But as man, we're doing just as bad as things, you know, and if we consider the cat's natural instincts, if we suppress them more and more and more, we're going to have other issues. You know, when we've got cats that are over grooming and dealing with anxiety, that's because we're controlling their environment so much. You know, we've domesticated them. You know, we've brought cats indoors. We're feeding them 3 times a day. So, you know, we really have to think about what's best for them. How are they going to thrive, and then try to find some kind of middle ground. You know, so I call our setup a hybrid. He's allowed access to outdoors, but it's as and when, you know, we feel it's safe, and that's what works for us.
Exactly. And it is really important for the mental health of our cats that they have certain things available. So they like vertical spaces. They need to be able to climb. And, you know, then we have them inside and we spend so much time saying, get off the counter and get off the table. And that is what a cat wants to do. That's their safe spot, is to get up. So if we're going to keep them inside, then we really have to look at what environmental enrichment are we giving them inside the house. So we need multiple vertical spaces for them. Like, we built our kitty condo, which I had people attack me over the kitty condo, saying I was so cruel putting my cats in a box. It's not a box, it's a full wall cabinet divided into 8 sections, and there's holes in between each section there where they can go up or sideways. Their litter boxes are in there, their food is in, so they have 1 section where they eat, 2 sections with litter boxes, but it's their safe space. So when the baby comes over and she's crazy running around, where do the cats go? They run in their condo, and they can actually go out the top. And it has a walkway all the way around the entire room with like a hanging bridge and scratching posts and little platforms. So it's actually a really cool, enriched space for them, and it's their safe. Like, I had to put them in there and close the doors the first 24 hours to let them know that's where the food is. That's just like you would with any cat that you bring into the house. They have to know, this is where my litter box is, this is where my food's available, and they shouldn't be next to each other, by the way. And then, you know, they have to know where their safe zone is. So they actually really love it. So very, very critical that we give our cats, the ones that have to stay inside, if you live in the city, whatever, they need that environmental enrichment. They need that vertical space, and they need the ability to hunt, kill, pounce. And so the kill might not be a live animal, but so a lot of people like to play laser tag with their cats. Great. Cats love it. They'll leap up the walls. They'll chase it around the house. But when you're done at the end of that game, they have to win. They have to get the prey. So whatever that prey is going to be, whether it's, you know, a special treat that they're going to pounce on or a catnip toy that they're going to get, they have to be able to win the game. And otherwise you're just making more anxiety. Yes, you're wearing them out physically, but you're making more anxiety mentally. So I think it's really critical that if our cats are staying in and they're not getting that outdoor environmental enrichment and ability to stalk things and do what cats do, I think it's imperative that as cat parents, we're giving them that enrichment. I think too many people think of a cat as, well, I live in an apartment, I can get a cat, I can ignore it, it'll sleep all day, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and that's one of the most heartbreaking stories that I hear. Oh, cats are really laid back. It's like, well, no, because they need mental, physical, and emotional support. And like you said with the toys, crucial, absolutely crucial to let them get it at the end. We have these wand toys now. Max, the new kitten, loves it. We've got a wiggly worm, we've got a feather bit, we've got like interchangeable ends. It's great. So we open the cupboard, he picks one out, and we'll play with it for probably about 25 minutes. He's got a great burst of energy. But we make sure that every sort of like 2 or 3 times of sort of chasing it, he catches it, because like you said, it's crucial to be able to capture that prey. And then he does what we call rabbit feet with his back feet when he, they would obviously remove the fur.
The bunny kick.
Yeah. And that's really, like you said, really important. So when we've got a cat, if they're an indoor only cat, that's fine, but you've got to bring that enrichment, and you've actually kind of got to up your game a little, because you do need to interact with them, and you can't just kind of leave them around the house to just amuse themselves. Leaving toys out on the floor, it's just like a baby, they're going to get bored. So rotate your toys, leave certain ones out, put them in different places. And we could talk about how to do that with food as well. But just going back to your point about the heights, and I love the fact that you've got the spaces where they can go in when the baby comes over. So Leo he's not fussed with heights, I have to say. Max, oh my god, kitten, he's testing his boundaries, right? He's on everything. Brought him into the front room last week. My sister was like cat sitting because I was on a call, and I got off the call. She said, oh, he likes to climb curtains. And I'm like, no, I didn't, because we haven't got any in the summer room, but he's testing his strength. But Leo loves to be hiding away. He is a cave dweller. He feels safe in small, dark spaces. The smaller and like more invisible he can be, the better, So if you've got an indoor cat, think about those two things: hidey spaces, places where they can go to hide away and retreat to feel safe. And like Judy said, places where they can get up high, because they want to look at their territory. They want to look for threats. They're a predator and prey animal. So they've got to look and see what's around me, what's going to affect me, where can I potentially get food? Because that's their drivers,
Right.
And one of the things that I love to bring or to recommend to people if they've got indoor cats, yes, obviously a herb garden, which we can share, but also it's a sensory garden. So, I've suggested clients before, use an old litter tray and get some soil, get some dirt, get some mud, get some, crummies from your garden, some leaves and things, and bring it in. Let your cat sniff around, let your cat have a play with it, bring the outdoors indoors and let them enjoy it. Yeah, because the physical and the mental health leads to emotional health, doesn't it? If you've got that bit where they're having their exercise and you're playing with them physically, and they've got mental stimulation, they're going to be emotionally balanced. So they're not going to have much anxiety. They're not going to be dealing with overwhelm. They're going to be able to cope. So I think there are definitely things that we can do, even if we've got a tiny apartment. I've lived in small spaces with the cat. And you just make do, like you said, litter tray in one corner, food in the other, water in another, and a PlayStation, not a PlayStation, like a computer, like an active activity station where they can play, and try to mix it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is kind of fun, because I go to the warehouse and see what new cat toys Gwen has brought in. It's like, oh, this month we need one of these, and this month we need one of these.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it is true. I mean, it doesn't matter the age of the cat. I've had my 20-year-old cats running through the house chasing catnip toys and feathers and wands. I mean, they really don't outgrow it. It's just their nature to want to stalk and pounce. And I love it when my cats are all the way at the top and they're kind of sitting looking over the edge down at everybody like, we're in charge. What are you peons doing down there?
Absolutely. And we can help them as best we can, regardless of what we choose, indoor, outdoor. And obviously we haven't talked about the in between. There's the Catio stage.
Oh yeah.
And I know that there's people on the webinar I know that have got them from my community. And Catios are fabulous. So you've got the two versions, like you said, you've got this is your fence, you've got the kind of hook bit over the edge with netting so they can't kind of jump out, or you've got an actual built like freestanding thing, which looks like a cage, right?
Right.
Let's face it, it's going to be a space where they can, get fresh air through and everything. But again, if you put different couple of like, tree trunks in there or branches, or, I've got a lady who has hung, I thought it was fabulous, hung a chicken thigh from a bit of string from the middle of the ceiling. And there's footage of her cat going absolutely crazy. And I was like, that is just brilliant. She lives in Australia, so she can't let her cats outside, so a catio is a great option to give them that kind of in between.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen some of the coolest catios online, and there's actually a blogger from Canada, and all she does is talk about catios.
Really?
She when I won Woman of the Year in the Pet Industry Network, she was the rising star. And all she talks about was cats and their catios. And because this was back in 2018, that was kind of when they were sort of starting to get popular and people were starting to build them. I've seen some of the most amazing, gorgeous catios that people have built that it's sort of like, wow, I think most people don't put that much thought into their house.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's available if you don't have room or the ability to make a catio, you can actually buy these like kind of tunnel-y type things. They're like a net tunnel that you can snake around your yard for your cats to go out and go through. I actually had a client once who had a whole bunch of, they were basically feral cats. She had 4 or 5 of them. And so their basement was not really a finished basement, but it was a clean basement. Like their laundry was down there and stuff. And they had some stuff stored. And the cats, they also had dogs. And so the cats didn't like the dogs. So the cats basically lived in the basement. They had the basement very well tricked out with cat beds and all these things.
Nice.
But the cats ended up getting ringworm. Their immune systems were not great because they never went outside. They weren't in sunlight. They were in a basement. Basements tend to be a little bit damp. So we solved the problem. Like we tried everything with these cats. They were long hair, so they shaved them, they bathed them. They just couldn't get rid of it. And I said, these cats they need sunlight. They need to go outside. Well, they were feral cats. Putting them outside, they weren't going to come back home. So we actually took the wire dog crates, got the cat and took the bottom tray out of them, got the cats into the wire dog crates, sat them outside in the sunlight in their crates, and they could dig around in the grass because we took the bottoms out. And they just had, it was, after we cured the cats, which it did cure their ringworm, after we cured the ringworm, they would just take them out there to let them enjoy themselves because they were so much happier being able to see birds and smell the outdoors, dig around in the dirt, in the grass. So even if you have a very small space and don't have capability to do a catio or do long tunnels, you can do something as simple as a dog crate. So these are, we can get any size, but at the time, I have a whole bunch of them that are 18 inches wide, 2 feet long, and a foot and a half high. But even something like that to let your cat go do a smell tour outside, they'll be very happy to do it.
Yeah, very, very much so. Great suggestion. And of course, you can also take them out on lead. So there's a few things to consider if you decide to do that. So I really go pro and con this idea. I see something, I'm like, oh God, no. And then I see something else, I'm like, oh, that's great. And there's a couple of things to consider. If you think that you want to do it, you need to see if your cat will adapt to it. So
does your cat want to?
Yeah. So for example, like Leo, not a chance, because he'd be too overwhelmed. He wouldn't be able to hide away. He's not in control of feeling safe. So It would be a no-go for him. If you've got quite a confident cat who is self-assured and actually adjusts really well to change, because some cats do. We say that cats don't like change, but some cats can be really flexible. Do some behavior work, get them used to wearing a very sort of secure harness so you're not going to lose them. And I mean, don't just put it on them once and then take them out. You need to put it on them and they're walking around the house with it and they're comfortable with it. They're used to a bit of tension when you're holding a lead, for example, and the other thing to think about is that cats, like you said, use their sense of smell for everything, to check if their food's okay, to see who's been in their territory, to make sure that this is part of their territory. They use scent for everything. So when your cat goes outside, out of its core territory, for example, the garden or the home, they might be overwhelmed. And again, some cats may not cope well with that. Some cats may thrive and like the constant mental stimulation, but it's not for every cat.
Right.
So have a think about whether it's the right thing for your cat and try it. And if you do try it, start off really small. Don't go for like a 5-mile walk, start going along your drive and back, and then you go slightly further and back, and build up to it, flex that muscle almost, and see how your cat adapts to it. And look for those behavior cues. So the behavior cues from a cat are likely to be body language or reactivity. So, body language is going to be flat ears, crouched down low, big eyes, potentially panting if they're super stressed, or it could be that they're trying to run back in or find somewhere to hide away. So, it might be your cat loves it and it's an option. Like I said, I'm pro 1 minute and con the next. So, I'm still unsure.
Well, it's interesting because at a lot of the pet expos that we used to go to, where there would literally be 10 to 15,000 people in a building, under one roof, dogs barking, just craziness going on. There would be people there with these very confident cats with harnesses, just walking around just as confident as the dogs, totally not paying attention to the dogs that are all around them and want to chase them. So I do see these confident cats that are well trained to their harness and leash and seem to love it. It's not something that I would think as being natural. And I would really want to make sure I had a secure harness, because cats aren't built like dogs. And so it's very easy for them to back out of a harness. They don't have as much jaw structure here to keep it from going. And their shoulders just seem to
they're like worms, aren't they? They can go through the smallest space.
Yeah, they can sneak backwards out of them very, very, very easily. So make sure that you have something that's really secure. So it is, it really is the personality of the cat, the mental status of the cat. Like I said, my cats, it's their choice. Mittens is very confident outside. He's no problem. Buddha, he's a schizophrenic cat anyway, but he runs out on the patio. He'll sniff around there for a few minutes, and then he's at the door like, let me in. I didn't mean to come out here. I made a mistake. And that's fine. So he goes out for his 5 minutes and then he's happy with that. But it has made a huge difference in the anxiety level within the house now that they're able to go out. And we used to see that at our house back in New Jersey. They wouldn't go out very much in the winter. It was cold, it was snowy, and they'd kind of go to the door and look out and go, I don't think so. And so they really spent a lot more time in, and there was a lot more anxiety between that inner cat aggression and anxiety. Even though the house was huge, it was 3 stories. It was like you didn't all have to be in the same place. You can be in very different places, but it still created anxiety. And then, spring would come around and they'd start spending more time outside, even if it's just laying in the sun on the patio. And then all of that inner cat struggle just disappears. So, as being the person who has to clean up after the pee wars, I'm really happy when they don't have them.
But when they're happy cats, you're a happy cat mum. No, I agree. I think our preference is actually secondary in the kind of considerations that we make. We do need to consider the individual needs of each cat, and then we can think about how we can put our needs and our requests, in amongst that. Because, like we said, if I'd have kept Leo in, if I decided to keep him in because I was nervous about backing onto woods and everything, I would have a bare-bellied cat. He would be over grooming, and I wouldn't be surprised now with Max as an introduction into the household, which they've not physically met each other. He can see him through the summer room windows, and he smelt him because he's been in their house when Leo's been upstairs. But I have no doubt that Leo would be spraying because he's trying to get control. So have a think about peeps that are watching. If you're dealing with struggles with your cat, what is their mental health like, and is that indoor outdoor access, is that something that could affect it? And if you are keeping them in, That's not a wrong thing. It's not bad, it's not wrong, but how can you enrich them, give them enrichment? How can you give them mental stimulation? So like Judy and I talked about like the herb mat, you said about one of the herb gardens that's down. So I'm a huge advocate for herb gardens. I think they're just as important as a litter tray, just as important as a scratching post, because our cats have emotional needs. They have emotional health needs like we do. And, we've taken the control away from our cats. So let's give them a little bit back. So if you put down a towel or a blanket, you put down one of the pre-made kits that you can get from me or Dr. Judy's website, you can give them fresh catnip. You can give them calendula, which is, gorgeous and yellow and orange. And it's like literally bringing the sunshine indoors for them. You can offer them valerian and chickweed and just all these wonderful dried herbs. And let's say to the cat, here, try it. Do you need it? Do you want it? And I mean, our herb garden, I very rarely see Leo on it. He's a very timid cat, will only heel when he is, when we're not around. Max the other day, oh my goodness, there was rosebuds everywhere. It was all upside down, and it was beautiful because then I saw Leo actually near the herbs after they'd been kind of moved around a little. So, it gives them the opportunity to soothe their anxiety, their stresses, and actually if they need to ingest it, for example, like if they've got a bit of an upset tummy and they ingest some chickweed, it's going to help to settle the whole digestive tract, and that gives the cat the access to make itself better. Yeah. So one of the other things we didn't mention about indoor enrichment is cat grasses, fresh cat grasses. I don't know if you've got any for yours, seeing as is it aubergine doesn't go eggplant doesn't go outside. Do you grow any indoors?
I do not grow, which is funny because we have a couple different kinds of cat grass in the warehouse on our website for people to grow. I have not grown it for my cats, but mostly because they go outside and they're grazing. I mean, I guess I could try it for eggplant, who does not want to go outside. And they do go out there. I see them out there grazing, and we're about to plant our spring herb gardens outside. So, nice. I've always had herb gardens, and my cats have always had a grand old time going out there, rolling around in different things. I had the best catnip in the world a few houses ago, and my cats literally would just go lounge in the catnip all day. Just, we're high as a kite outside. We're fine. But they really enjoyed it. So I like allowing them to kind of pick and choose what they want. I mean, that's something that we have talked about with horses and large animals for years. Just plant them a hedgerow with a lot of different things in it, and they'll go in there and pick out what they need to deal with whatever issue they're having. And unfortunately, we tend to fence them away from the hedgerows and keep them away from, things that they could actually get to on their own to benefit themselves. So I'm a huge fan of these herb gardens. I think they're the coolest thing ever. And it never would have dawned on me to just throw a bunch of herbs on a towel and let my cats do what they want to do. But it has made a huge difference. Eggplant is the one who uses it, and she's the one who's a little psychotic. So the other two are like, we're good.
That's exactly it, right? Because they're like mentally and emotionally stable. They don't need it, right? Right. It is like us. If we've got a tense muscle in our shoulder, you could really do the massage. If you're feeling all right, you're like, it'd be nice, but I'm okay, and I think, and that's another reason why when cats are outdoors, that they benefit, because they can go to the neighbor's house and walk past the rose bush and get those scent molecules and enjoy that effect on their body. They can brush past, or like you said, lie in the catnip, lie in the lavender, so let's bring it in and put it down. So you've got their herb garden, you've got their sensory garden, you've got their heights, and a bit of playtime. Happy cat does that all make, yes. and even if they're an indoor cat, you can still keep them content, as long as you put some effort in and put a few things down for them. And consider what their needs are, really.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, since Leo goes outside. So it's not very common now, but for the first 20 years I was in practice, almost all cats were getting declawed because they were all being kept indoors. And then we actually found a cat on one of our farms who had been declawed all 4 feet and then was thrown outside. then we found out she was a peer, and that's why she got thrown out. But she came and lived with us. It was fine, and she became an indoor cat because she was declawed off 4. So, and I think that the profession is really getting away from declawing cats. It's actually being outlawed in some states, which is, I think, fine. But that is one word of caution, I would say. If you have a declawed cat, declawed kitties, really, they cannot defend themselves. They cannot climb as well, although they do pretty well, but they don't have that reflex time that a cat with all of their nails would have. So my question for you is, do you trim Leo's nails with them going outside?
Great question. No, we don't.
Yeah,
no, we don't. And there's 2 reasons for that. So one, he wouldn't let me. I wouldn't get anywhere near him to do it because he's not a very tactile cat. We'd have to take him to the vets. He gets horrendously stressed going to the vets. Mm-hmm. It's a whole big thing. And 2, the bottom of our garden, the person that lived here before us, there were trees growing and they cut them all down at fence height. So on each of the pillars, actually the stumps in turn, it's fabulous to see. He's scratching on them. So he's got natural scratching posts. So we've got them in the house as well. We've got a cat tree, we've got a standalone one, we've got one on the wall, and we've got a cardboard one. So he's got a variety, different, heights, vertical and horizontal, which he uses. Mm-hmm. But they're severely hooked. They're not like into his paws, don't get me wrong. But when we play feather on the landing, we've got like banister with just wooden bars, and we've got my niece gave us a pheasant tail feather, so it's quite a long one. So we kind of do this with him around the corner, and he absolutely loves it. And every now and again he catches us, and we're like, oh, that really smarts, buddy. It's not his fault, right? He's a cat with claws. But we've seen him at the bottom of the garden in the forest, climbing 2/3 of the way up a tree. And as his mum, I'm like, oh my God, what is he doing? My husband's like, calm down. He's a cat. He's fine. I'm like, oh my God. So no, we don't, because I know that when he's outside, he can sharpen them. He can take the sheaths off. He can stretch his body. He can do everything he needs to. So I don't think there's any need at the moment. If they start to obviously curl into his beans or his pads, we would look at it. If there's any form of infection, we would look at it, and we'd have to take him to the vets. My previous cat Pickle, we did, because she never went outside. She was a bit lazy. She was an earth type cat. So she was just sleeping and eating all day long. And she would get stuck. And when you tried to unhook her, she got very stressed. So as and when she went for a checkup, we'd take her, and the vet would just literally kind of take the tips off, but off the claw, not the, the paw. But with him, no, we don't. No, we don't need to right now.
Yeah, my cats are very good, and they would let me trim their nails, but I don't, because they're going outside. They use their scratching post inside. They scratch on things out. We on the back side of our patio, we put these really tall, big cypress posts, and we've got lights hanging from them and stuff. And I see the cats out there, they're just stretched up those things and just having a good old time. And I'm like, well, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Wasn't that nice of us to put in those scratching posts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are things that, again, it comes down to the human need, right? We trim them because we don't want them scratching things. Well, they're cats and they scratch.
Yeah.
So if there's any pain or damage, physical injury to them, yes, deal with it. But essentially, we've got to look at what capacity they've got to do natural behaviors, and, Leo, thankfully, is able to manage that himself. Pickle didn't, so we looked after that for her. I think, again, every cat is different. And, declawing, I just think abomination. I think it's horrendous. And I can't believe there are places that still do it. It breaks my heart, because there are those cats generally have a lot of physical pain, so therefore they then have behavioral issues, which then leads to emotional problems because they get abandoned and rehomed and left, and it's a real big sad cycle. Sad cycle. Yep.
I've seen it all through the years, unfortunately. But our practice, we probably stopped declawing 10 years ago. The state where I was practicing in New Jersey, they kept talking about passing a law that it would be illegal to declaw cats in the state. I don't think they ever got around to it, but we just kind of laid down our own law and said, yeah, we're just not doing that anymore.
No.
And I mean, geez, for years, it literally was, you got a cat, you got it declawed. And I'm glad to see things like that changing. I would like to see, this is a dog thing, but I'd like to see ear cropping and tail docking disappear as well.
Yes, definitely.
Europe is way ahead of us on that. You guys are much more humane, I think.
We're making progress for sure, but I think there's still more to do on that, because you still see them and it is heartbreaking. It's aesthetics and it's, no.
Yep. And before my Cavaliers, I had Dobermans, and the first couple Dobermans I had, everybody had cropped ears and docked tails. And then I said, this is pretty barbaric. We're going to stop doing this. And, floppy-eared, long-tailed Dobermans don't really look like a Doberman, but they're still fun. So I think it's hard for people, if they're used to a certain look. But anyway, that's...
Change is hard. And I'm just glad
that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, indeed.
So I'll stop on that. So is there anything that we haven't covered about kitty cats going out or not going out that you would like to make a point of?
No, I think we've covered it. I think, consider your cat's individual needs. Mm-hmm. If you give them access to outdoors, think about how you can make it as safe as possible. So like you said, we both keep them in at nighttime. And if you have them indoors, enrichment all the way, do as much as you can. I read a post on, I think it was Instagram ages ago, that said I can always do more for my cat, as all I can never have enough resources, so have a think about from today, even if you've got an outdoor cat, to be fair, what's one thing you could do? Get a herb garden, create a high space, put another scratching post in another room. What's one more thing you could do to support your cat's mental and emotional health would be my takeaway. So, look at what your cat needs and take a step forward and, take an action on it.
Give them one more thing.
Yeah.
Make sure they're on a species appropriate diet. That's another whole thing.
I was going to say, we didn't cover diet, but that is a whole other topic.
That's another whole thing. So I think I'm going to go get Eggplant's herb garden out and let her have a little toss around on that today, because she actually really enjoys it.
Have it down as often as you can. Give her the opportunity to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's just actually today's a good day to do it, because we usually vacuum on like Friday or Saturday, because it's everywhere. We have valerian and catnip everywhere.
I take no accountability for hoovering. But
fine.
Give her the option. And like we said, you can get the herb gardens that Judy and I are talking about. It's on Judy's website, and there are 10, I think. 10. And if you don't know where to start, try a general one. It's got a little bit of everything.
That's what I've been using, just because when we got our original samples, I got the general one. Yeah. And so she has like 3 things in there that are her absolute favorites. I know what they are. I have those set aside. So that's usually what I put out. But sometimes I'll put out all 10 just to see if she might need something else. Yeah, good. So I'm going to try some of the other gardens. I think I might try like an anxiety one, or something
uplifting. Try uplifting. That'd be good for her. Yeah. Oh, that's a question.
Oh, are all of the herbs you sell safe for dogs, or are there any to avoid? No, they're safe. My dogs are in them all the time, because I put the pad down. I use one of our piddle pads, our washable pee pads.
Oh, nice.
So the cats love them because they're soft. They're like fleecy on the top. So that's the absorbent part. So so I'll put that down, and then I put the herbs on the corners, and I kind of just space everything out so I can see what she's going to. Yep. And she rolls in it, she scratches it, she eats it, she throws it everywhere. So the dogs have access to everything that she's throwing on the floor. And it's really interesting to watch and see what things they go lick up off the floor as well. They're definitely attracted to certain things. So I probably could put herb gardens down for the dogs too.
Absolutely. So my training was in self-selection was, with people that were doing dogs and cats. I specialized in cats, but you can absolutely do it for dogs. When you use self-selection, so basically you put stuff down, let the dog choose, they will do exactly what cats will and take whatever it is that they need to make themselves feel better. The only thing with dogs that's usually a bit of a difference is if you've got a food driven dog, sometimes they may go for the remedies, but mine, there's no nutritional value in them, so it's about the kind of the healing compounds and things. But yeah, absolutely safe, and I've had many people say to me, the dog's got in the garden, and I'm like, yeah, you need to keep, give the cat a bit of space, give them some time, and keep it separate for a little bit before you let the rest of the household back into the room.
Yep, exactly. And that's why mine's up on I have small dogs, they can't get to the counter, and the cat is very happy to hang out up there and roll around in all of her stuff.
Nice.
So we're gonna go make a mess.
Enjoy.
All right, for those of you who joined us today, thank you so much. I don't know what Gwen's plan is. I don't know if this is going to be emailed out to everyone who signed up. I'll find out, but I'm pretty sure that's usually what she does. Gwen's in charge. What do I know? I just show up.
We just show up and do the talking part,
Exactly.
It's been so lovely to chat, and thank you to everyone that's joined us. It's been really, really great to talk about, like you said, a controversial topic. And if you've got any other cat related questions, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, or you can look at my website, www.naturallycats.co.uk. And I'm going to do a really quick shameless plug, Judy, for the cat conference.
Oh yeah.
We've got the Holistic Cat Conference, 2 days, free, virtual, online, 19th and 20th of March. Head to my Instagram. There's a link in my bio to register your space. And we are talking about arthritis to obesity. We've got shamanic healing to me with herbs, and grooming to muscle testing. We've got something for everyone. So it's a 2-day online event, and you can dip in and out, so come along and join us. And thank you for being here today. And Judy, thank you for having me. I know that I can talk a lot about cats for a long amount of time, so thank you very much for today.
That is okay. And I will be presenting that weekend on natural treatments for arthritis in cats, and how we know that whether they have arthritis, and the statistics for how many cats do have arthritis. So it actually, some of it even surprised me when I was doing the research. It's like, wow, okay, we need to open our eyeballs. So, definitely head over to Julianne's page. We'll be advertising and putting that out as well. But it's March 19th and 20th, and lots of great speakers and information on kitty cats, which we can't get enough kitty information. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day. I guess it's evening over there, afternoon over here. Everyone enjoy. Go do something special for your kitty cats.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Judy. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.